Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Bad Ideas Garage. My name is Steven and it is the winter solstice, and so I decided to bring a little bit of upcoming summer joy to this video. You're probably wondering, well, I saw the Beretta, I saw the Jeep, what do you have in the Bad Ideas Garage now? Well, I have this 2006 Buick Rendezvous. I know that you're all very, very excited to learn the ins and outs of this Buick Rendezvous, and probably you're wondering, why the heck do I have it in the first place?
Surprise!
When you're looking at this beautiful vehicle from this angle, it might get you to think about a different car, the Pontiac Aztek. Some people consider that to be the ugliest vehicle ever made. I think they're really cool personally. However, they're not the most attractive thing in the world, and I also like really odd cars. This is actually related to the Pontiac Aztek. So if you wanted to go get yourself a Pontiac Aztek, but people are like, probably not with the edgy style, you want a little bit more of a smooth and round style instead, well, you can get this, and the underpinnings are really similar. Now, getting into this Buick, again, the cabin is really, really comfortable to be in. Even the temperature variation between outside, it's about 40 degrees outside, and in here, I ran the heater just a little bit, and it's like night and day. There is a lot of insulation in this vehicle, and they had to think about the target market. So people just wanted a very quiet place to be, and they did a really good job at it. This particular trim level of the Buick Rendezvous, it is the CX rather than the CXL, and in 2006, that meant that you did not get as many features as you would in some of the higher end models. So if you look at this dashboard, there really is not that much stuff on it. You have some fog lights, you have your regular lighting control, you have the stereotypical General Motors wiper stalk over here, it has cruise control, all of that works, by the way. Horn, gauge cluster, the hilarious column shift, which I can't stand column shift, but it is what it is. You have your power windows, your power door locks, power mirrors, everything that you would expect from a vehicle of this age. It does have leather seats though, and these leather seats have held up really nicely. It's a really, really nice material. It doesn't feel too cold, too sticky, etc. You have a couple of cubbies where you can store stuff. You have a standard charge port. You have a control right here to be able to control your rear windshield wiper. Standard HVAC controls. You probably heard on my other videos that I cannot stand how modern cars have integrated all of their HVAC and radio controls into a screen. I really do like that down here, these are all there. So even though these are not real buttons, which drives me nuts, in the Tesla, you don't have any of those actual buttons. Well, it's a General Motors product from 2006. So the screen here is really tiny, but it only does stuff on the radio. So it's a standard doubled-in radio, which is just fine. The air conditioning works, the heater works, all of the stuff works. That's pretty much it. Up above, you have a couple of cubbies where you can store a lot of things. I really like how this actually has storage for, 3 different pairs of glasses. So maybe you have your driving glasses, your day glasses, your night glasses, etc. So a lot of storage up there. I do notice that there's not actually there's no overhead light. There's only a couple of these lights that are located right here in the mirror, which is interesting. But just lots of storage. Really, really deep storage compartment here. You have storage down here as well. I mean, other than that, there really is not that much here in terms of features. The back seat, not the most interesting thing either. However, as a father of 2 kids, so I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, the back seat is really important to me because putting in car seats. So right here, this is the seating position. I am 6 feet tall, so a little bit close to the steering wheel, but having this right here, there's plenty of space, especially comparatively to our 2013 Mazda CX-5, to be able to put a front-facing, rear-facing car seat or an infant car seat. I also like that both of these have map pockets, so we can put some storage back here. And another thing that our Mazda doesn't have, it has vents. So this particular one doesn't have rear climate control in terms of being able to control it back here, but it has 3 vents, and there's a little storage cubby back here. There's also a little charge port down here as well. So that's really nice if you want to be able to charge a couple of accessories for the kids, etc. I particularly like the HVAC being back here. The Mazda doesn't have that on hot days. There's some vents in the floor, but our floors are always covered in our kids' crap. And so being able to get the rear part of the cabin to be cooler, it is a problem in that car, but I imagine it would not be a problem in this car, especially because the air conditioning, it works very well. The heat works really well, and you have those little vents right there. Right here in the middle, so this has, let's see here. Both of these come down. This is a nice place to be able to rest your arm, I guess, if you're going to be right here. I wonder if this pops out. Oh, it does. That's pretty cool. This is fun. I wonder, oh, look, oh my goodness, look at that. That is really, really cool. Okay, so we have that on this side. I'm not sure if that's ever been opened, maybe back here. Oh, look at that. Would you look at that?
Oh, look at that.
That's oddly satisfying to put that back into place. There's the car. We have the car seat anchors. This is a complete seat. Actually, this is a decently wide seat that I see myself being able to fit into, which is really cool. And then that's what I was mentioning here, the HVAC controls. There's a charge port down there, a little bit of storage right here. But again, there's no lighting back here. Just right here. I like how okay, so that's how it illuminates over here. And then maybe this is where you can put, there we go. Awesome. And it looks like that these are 50-50 split seats. So I'm sure that there's a way to be able to put them down. Let me see if I can. Oh, okay. So there we go. That looks really good. I'm going to see if I can pull this up. Probably can't do this one-handed. All right, so just that lever down there comes right up. And it's completely flat, which is really cool. This also, it appears that these will come straight out. Yep. Okay, so those will come straight out. That gives this a massive, massive area to be able to sleep in here. So if you wanted to buy one of these and do like the Gambler 500 or whatever in it, that'd be really easy to do. This is completely flat. And there's also, to my understanding, there's nothing under here whatsoever. So even like the spare tire storage that you'd normally have there in the back, it's not there. I'll show you that in just a second. But this is a very, very large amount of space that you can have in here. And it's just very easy to pop that back. You pull this lever, it pops back as well. So some of these actually had a third row in the back. And so that's probably one of the reasons why this is just so easy to be able to put it down. This, before I open this actually, this is a very, very tall back liftgate part before the glass starts. It's actually really hard to be able to back in. I'm sure that you'd get used to it, but you can't even really see that much. If you had a rear view camera here, it'd make things a lot better. But I noticed as I was backing in my front part of my car lot that I have, I wasn't quite sure how close I was getting to the Jeep. Thankfully I didn't hit anything. That's just a little side note here. Let's go ahead and open this up. It's a little on the heavy side, but again, back here, tons and tons of room. You could see that there are a couple places for where the third row might have been. Completely flat back here. There's a couple of anchor spots where you can be able to anchor things down, and I really like that. Over here, you have things like your jack storage. It looks like that this one has been used before, so let's see if I can get that back in. Surprisingly easy. What's over here? Oh, another charge port. Okay, so it's kind of random, but there's literally a door, and behind it is just a charge port. It's pretty cool. And then you can go ahead and hide it. So that's way easier to do that than I have with other vehicles. You might be asking, okay, where's the spare tire? It's actually down below. So right here, there's a little cutout in the carpet. There isn't really anything below this besides it looks like some adhesive, etc. But below, there's a little spot right here that it looks like you take your tire iron and you spin this down. It's because the tire is actually hidden underneath. Yeah, so that tire lowers down as you unspin it, which is cool. And of course, this one's not the four-wheel drive. I'm actually very curious. If you had the all-wheel drive, I'm actually curious about how in the world you get that down. But yeah, that's where it is. Opening this up is super easy, one-handed, has the hydraulics, which is great. So this is the 3.5 liter V6. So a couple of these had different variations. Even in this year, you could have gotten the 3.6. There's a 3.4 that I think some of the earlier ones had, but there's really nothing spectacular about it. It has more than enough power to be able to propel this down the road. And again, some of these had all-wheel drive. This one does not have all-wheel drive. And there isn't really much to say about this. We are generally happy with how General Motors products have worked out. Some of the quality in the 1990s was a little questionable. However, the quality of this seems to be pretty good. But I want to point out a couple of things about it. But this is where we're going to start talking about maintenance. So a couple of things is on this particular one, you can see that over here, there looks like there's a little bit of leakage and a little bit of spillage. I forgot to use a funnel, and I got some of this power steering fluid all over the place. So it does chirp a little bit. However, it is full. I'll go ahead and open this up. So you can see that there's definitely fluid. It's definitely high for where it needs to be. And what I've been doing is I've been trying to bleed out the system by leaving that open and then moving side to side with the engine running. Some of the literature that I've read says that you're supposed to lift up the front, and then when the car is off, move it back and forth to try to get the system bled out. I wasn't able to have the space or the time to be able to do that. And so once I put more fluid in this, it's quieted down, but it still makes a little bit of noise. This is what it sounds like.
All right, so there's a little bit of my own spillage, but I really am not seeing anything overly egregious.
A couple other things about this particular car is my buddy Greg, he put in a new battery, which is down here, and it is properly secured down here. There just isn't really anything much more to talk about. The alternator light was coming on periodically, and I think it had something to do with the way that these wires needed to be clipped down. So once I put this in place, I clipped this down because this was just kind of hanging out there. I moved this over here, and this needed to be clipped down, and this needed to be clipped down. Once I did that, that alternator light, I mean, it was very, very random when it was popping on. It went off. So a couple of things to keep in mind is being able to like check your fluid. Your power steering fluid is very, very easy to check. Actually right here on almost every single car, right here on the lid of the power steering fluid, you can see there's a couple lines there. That says what level it's at. This is a little over full, but there's a cold, there's a hot, and usually a minimum. This one was at the minimum when I first got it. And so just being able to do that is really helpful, because if you're able to see that and be able to check some of these fluids, that I think is going to help you be able to sell your car for a little bit more. If it's like, oh, it's okay, it's the power steering, or oh, it's okay, it's the alternator, etc. So for example, we were able to say, well, the alternator is probably not the problem. It's because some of these wires were not where they needed to be, and some of these terminals needed to be clamped down. And because of that, we were able to build a little bit more value into this. Whoops. It's there. It's where it's supposed to be. Moving the steering wheel back and forth, it's not as bad as it probably sounds. It feels like it's making really good pressure. And again, I tried to bleed it, moving back and forth and leaving the cap off and driving around for a couple minutes, which is kind of an old trick to be able to get all of it bled out. And I was getting some bubbles through the system. I think that there's probably a slow leak. And if you just kept the fluid up, it'd probably be okay. And so I'm just disclosing that to the new buyer, is that it's probably fine. This power steering pump makes less noise than like most Ford Rangers. Like my Ford Ranger that I had, the power steering pump made a lot more noise than that did, and it was totally fine. So, I mean, it might be that that's how those are. But at the same time, I'm just going to disclose it makes a little bit of extra noise, especially at startup. Once you get driving, you can kind of notice that around town, it might need to be bled properly using like a power bleeder. But at this point, I think it's time for me to let it go to the next person. If you know anything about these, go ahead and put it in the comments. I might sell it by the time that you see this, but go ahead and put them in the comments if your power steering pump is loud like this on your Buick Rendezvous or your Pontiac Aztek or anything similar. Okay, I am not kidding. Those marks right there came from this vehicle with brand new all-season tires. But I did this, and yes, it is wet, but I thought it was a one-wheeled wonder, but nope, that actually happened out of a Buick, which is spectacular. So that's all the time we have for this episode of the Bad Ideas Garage. We appreciate you watching and subscribing. We have a lot of really fun stuff coming up. So we actually have a social media schedule, both on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, with unique content on all three of them. So on each one of the platforms, we have updates both on our own projects, a couple of spotted posts as I see things out in Facebook Marketplace or just out and about here in the Willamette Valley. And then Fridays are always Fire Truck Fridays in conjunction with the Oregon Fire Service Museum up at Powerland Heritage Park. So make sure like and subscribe on all of them. I really appreciate it. We've grown immensely in 2023. This is the last video we're going to be doing for this year. Or maybe by the time I get it done, it might be early 2024. Who knows? But again, thanks for watching our video on this beautiful Buick Rendezvous. Have fun, be nice to each other, like and subscribe. We'll catch you later.